Hi, everybody. I'm sorry to interrupt your conversations. I know it's a joy to be in company and community with each other. My name is Rob Arnold. I'm the executive director here at Poets House, and I am delighted to have all of you here. And I just want to thank our funding sponsors for this series, the Battery Park City Authority, who've done so much to support poetry and the culture, the arts and cultural scene in Battery Park City. They have been amazing funding partners for us, and I will say, I haven't said this at every event, but last year when the NEA collapsed effectively, and our funding from the NEA collapsed, they stepped in and provided extra funding so that we could continue our programming. So please give a huge and hearty round of applause for the Battery Park City Authority. They've been really amazing and some of our most impactful partners in programming. And also give a round of applause for yourselves for coming out tonight. This is so exciting. I'm actually not going to be the host of the show. I'm going to give that over to Marie, my colleague. So please keep the applause going for Marie.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es María Elisa Marie Schmidt. I'm an Access Service Associate here at Poets House, and I'm super excited to be your host tonight for our final showcase reading featuring Sahar Khraibani, Farid Matuk, Michelle Peñaloza, and Roque Raquel Salas Rivera. Please give them a warm welcome. So if this is your first time joining us, or if you're not yet familiar with the showcase, this is one of our longest running programs. In fact, we're proud to celebrate our 30th annual showcase with this series. Every year we collect poetry from different kinds of publishers and mediums, from chapbooks to broadsides, translated works, anthologies, and multilingual volumes, and make an exhibit and reading series. So the books that you're seeing around you are part of our showcase, and you're welcome to browse them after the reading. So we put tonight's program together with a question in mind. How do language and poetry turn conventions upside down? I've been thinking a lot about Tracy K. Smith's book of essays, Poetry in Perilous Times, and her reflection on the fight against, quote, a national vocabulary grounded in fear, derision, and the notion of an interactably divided nation, with a bruise on the collective imagination and a threat to the sense of hope and possibility, end of quote. Whether through incorporating bilingualism in their poems or intervening a traditional form, tonight's poets show us that language operates as an endless resource to tilt our imagination. So, before we begin our readings, I'd love to share a few upcoming events and opportunities at Poets House with all of you. On Saturday, February 28th, we're going to host our extended community reading with works from the showcase. We will have food and refreshments, so please RSVP on our webpage. And our showcase exhibit will actually close that same day on February 28th. So if you haven't had a chance to spend time looking through the new books, we highly recommend that you do soon. If you're not able to visit them before the exhibit closes, they will be moved to our permanent collection upstairs. We are also going to launch our monthly Riverside reading and writing groups, a new poetry reading and writing group led by members of our staff. The writing group will meet in person here at Poets House on February 28th from 12 to 1, and the reading group will meet on March 14 also from 12 to 1. And finally, 2026 marks Poets House 40th anniversary. Yay. So please stay connected through our social media and our incredible newsletter to hear about our upcoming events and opportunities. And now, without further ado, I'm honored to introduce our first reader of the night. Sahar Khraibani's work has been presented with Montez Press, the Brooklyn Rail, Magnum Foundation, the Poetry Foundation, the Poetry Project, and Hyperallergic, among others. Sahar is a recipient of the Creative Capital Arts Writers Grant, a fellowship at the Poetry Project, a MacDowell Fellowship, a 2024 residency at Mass MoCA, and is an alumni of the Whitney Independent Study Program. Sahar teaches at Pratt Institute and is the author of Anatomy of a Refusal, 1080 Press 2025, and 1000 Ghosts in This Feast, Wendy Subway 2025. So one of my favorite parts about this job is getting introduced to amazing poets from my fellow colleagues, and that was the case with Sahar. As soon as I set my eyes on their work, I was captivated by their use of footnotes, intertextuality, and poetic form to disrupt established values. So please join me in welcoming Sahar tonight.
Thank you so much, Maria, for this introduction, and thank you all for being here, and thank you, Poets House, for having me. This is so exciting. Okay. I'm going to read from 1000 Ghosts in This Feast. A big important part of this book is actually the footnotes, but I don't read them. So there, you can explore them if you want on your own time. But one thing I would like to say about this is that I'm an extremely undisciplined writer, and I kind of just suffer for years, and then one day I will sit and then something will come out. And this was the case for this. It really came out of me in like a spurt of writing, and it felt like a possession. So this is where this energy of writing is coming from. Hi, Tess. Fear of the archaic holds considerable sway. Territorial entities symbolically and temporarily raised a language that gives up. Non-structure within the non-body, the listening devices of the unconscious do not hear. Incandescent, unbearable, limit, I squat, I touch the soil, I commune with what's been presented if I am to proceed. Flashes, bursting. A universe of borders, fragile wanderings of the subject, at the turning point between social and delinquent. Flayed skin, we have traveled so far. Agency becomes ambiguous, decays faster than I can blink, demands to be written, demands utterance. Somewhere on the border, I kneel, succumb into senseless decay. In my dream last night, we argued again. Over lunch, A says the only way to get something is to demand it. I am yet to test out this hypothesis. Oral object sets up archaic relationships. Absence of sound wields a power that is as vital as it is fierce. Orality signifies a boundary, the virtual impurity, interference of the organic within the social, quivering ontologies. There are 1000 ghosts in this feast. The structural hypothesis is well known. Sacrifice or myth expand unlogical processes of language, shift the border that separates the body's territory from the signifying chain. Kernel by kernel, endless granary of lost deeds, we do not reject what has captured us. We capitulate to prescription, from 8 to 4, from 9 to 5, into the madness of the orgy, to horror, death outlawed, life, the horrendous delights of breath, love, disgust, fright, more and more remote, riskier probes. A delirium whose social unfolding is known, what senseless abyss threatens this passing, identical and edged with silence, haunted by the same concern. Circularity erases the touch of a nerve, seduction in favor of cruelty, of desire, of resisting the social order, leads to a decentralized proliferation of experiments in living. We encounter ourselves in the other. I say I want to not know what losing land feels like, a specificity that subjugates, erases instead of edges, constitutes a way of being, gripping onto semantic ambivalences, the sublime and the abject. I squat, I squirm, I exude from that disgust, a fume permissive. Nothing takes place but place itself, 1,000 ghosts in this feast. It began just like that. Nothing was mine and everything belonged to me. 100,000 ghosts on the seam in the midst of pleasure. The devil is in the repetition. The rest amounts to nothing. The original state, I, takes its cues from the base. I hold forth. I am in its hold. I smell. I taste. I commune with what's been presented. Appalling trappings of language. Mechanical gust. There are tents bombed, a burning alive, and a faced visible discomfort at the utterance of genocide. Here we reap the fruit of sorrow. We feast on its flesh. I sit atop graveyards where blood is yet to dry. Here language is of no importance at all. When there's no choice but to put grief on display, movements do not match the expected curve. Consensus for obliteration, history returns again and again. We have been here before. The map has been marked but exploding in our psyche. If we are to get out of here, 37,000 ghosts in these pleats. The body is a literal place, the point on the earth we occupy. Billions of points understood in action. There you have it, a sad topology, communicable and shareable in the shooting sharpness of its aching, abject in its buzzing, dizzying demand to be seen, looms in its horizontality, prey to its own prowess. If no means of salvation peer at the edges of the stream, if no glory is to be found flashing seen from the exteriors of this earth-white phosphorus abound, if no words pour out of me but simmer in the back of my throat, then bar me of my instincts. I extend this hand, I kneel, I touch the soil I have been presented with, blood-dried layers and layers in. Obsession back to decay, it is a problem of scale. Representations are blurred, significations vanish. This music is a great distraction, another word for debilitated suffering. Tonight I will not dance. We are far removed, tracking down, flushing out, hands dirty, soil gets in my fingernails. The other that I am and will never reach, it dwells in me, spends me, carrying me over to the undecidable. I still carry your refusal, a negligence of ecstasy. I stick my finger into the wound. My fist is as far up as it can go. Plunge hands into meat, tear away at the soft edges, a game of tug of war. I maneuver you closer, say, look, there's a mountain in the sea. Brought you to my favorite spot and you claimed presence. I pointed at the water retreating, though it has nowhere to go. A logistical crisis you alluded to, trapped in the stream, ingrained carnage. Where do all the waters of all the rivers flow to? There are 100,000 ghosts crawling up my sleeve. Grotesque evocation of ecstasy, I tug and some kind of pouch bursts. I will not tell them who you are. We exchange presence for privacy, the supreme location of suffering. It's a miracle we survived, considering the time we spent cutting ourselves down to nothing. Nothing attractive or exciting in this bearing of instincts, another word for debilitated suffering, contending with the erotics of commonplace politics. It is of no surprise that politics and politeness stem from the same root, an etymological similarity rendered smooth state. All my aches are catching up with me. Obsession refers back to decay, renders it catatonic, an aloof taming of abjection. Pain resurfaces, finds its nook, holds its sway, confronts the entirely other, draws back from it, only to thrust again into it. It is both shattered and punctuated in its biographical continuity, one big desert of rot. I'm seeing things inside of others. A fly falls into the trap laid out. It is the point of departure, the laying bare of meaning. I'm standing in the center of the dance floor, body like jelly. Movements reverberate, make way for mystical strains, a fixation on the truth of impossible meaning. You continue to haunt me into a vision that can only be described as contrarian. I know you are here. I saw you on the corner of 5th and 42nd, incapable of setting yourself up as a being forever incomplete, bursting amid clamors of universal collapse. Abstraction is safety. It is a privilege. What principle, what class, what side, what party comes out unscathed? It is vision, and that sight is summoned to play. In the morning, I announce myself in you, hotboxing through the holes, under-caffeinated and sore. What is it to be engulfed? What is it to be seen? The instinct to kill must come from a place so outside it can only be deep within. Every accusation is a confession. I am reminded as I scroll away my day. I do not wish to attend the party. Thank you.
Thanks, Sahar. That was absolutely stunning. Now I'm going to introduce our second reader of the night. Farid Matuk is the author of the poetry collections This Is a Nice Neighborhood, Letter Machine Editions 2010, The Real Horse, University of Arizona Press 2018, and Moon Mirrored Indivisible, University of Chicago Press 2025. With artist Nancy Friedman Sanchez, Matuk created the book arts project Redolent, recipient of the 2023 Anna Rabinowitz Prize from the Poetry Society of America. Matuk is also the translator of Tilsa Ota's selected poems, The Hormone of Darkness, Graywolf Press 2024. Matuk's work has been supported by the Headland Center of the Arts, a Holloway Lectureship in the Practice of Poetry at UC Berkeley, and a 2024 USA Fellowship. So also Farid taught an amazing class last night, and I took it, and the readings were absolutely amazing. And yeah, we discussed how poetry could exist outside of the page, and it was super inspiring. Thanks, Farid. Please help me in welcoming Farid to the stage.
Thank you to everyone who helped us get here tonight. Of mule and deer, out of a tin cold and murmuring black wood, lightly you lope, pale deer, lifting a story from pages of snow. Nothing turns in your eye, they say. Toward the tin cold and murmuring black wood, I bear a display case of blue light. Say it was a sky. Say all you want. It was the sky. All right, you light-headed fathers, I'd ask for rain. Wait until January because I'll be born with a sash. This is where you shit. This a drawer for aftershave. Learning your things. Systems that churn hundreds of years, earns harrowing honors that get smeared. Some of it sticks. I mean, I can accept a thing exists like a pine cone opening. But for father spit raining down isn't the same thing also the tree's many a small mouth. I hear of sovereignties. I hear of the first world. But having survived facing off with the progeny ancestors, I'm told, will be no prophylactics against it. In our bodies, there are no borders. The new Aeromexico ad says, so here come the killers and their rhetors. John Bolton, Elliot Abrams, Juan Zarate of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Here, I'm told, is a song. George Zimmerman, who's countryman? Glistering. Young, clairvoyant body inside me, I'm sorry. I've been loud this long, this poorly around you. The power worship slide is steep and never stops. I aged trying to be at both ends. I dreamt my transparency that you coated my throat in Clorox from within. A real friend knows to stay well enough away. A cover song of love seen through to revolutionary intent. My imitation of my poem is my poem. The evil in us, the actual absence of it. This is an acrostic where the last letter of the line forms a different statement down. It's called mantilla, and mantilla is a black lace veil worn in mourning. The word all is here, A-W-L, a tool to make holes. Mantilla. The sun is off, F. In prayer, R. In breath abide, E. Words apogee, E. In words the righteous try to rap, P. Breath that via, A. Words is an all, L. Piercing dark, entire, E. Into lacy lights, each a mouth in chorus, S. Reaching every corner of every letter, of every edict, T, that attested would palazzi, I, be. To harbor so many a citizen, N, who in cycling breath, mere guess, learning not to pray, but breathe, E. Thank you.
Thanks for that was amazing. Now I'm very excited to introduce our third reader of the night. Michelle Peñaloza is the author of All the Words I Can Remember Are Poems, Persea Books 2025, winner of the 2024 Lexi Rudinsky Editor's Choice Award and the James Laughlin Award, awarded by the Academy of American Poets. She is also the author of Former Possessions of the Spanish Empire, winner of the 2018 Hilary Gravendick National Poetry Prize, Inlandia Books 2019, and the chapbook Landscape Heartbreak, Two Sylvias 2015. The proud daughter of Filipino immigrants, Michelle was born in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan, and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. She now lives in Covelo, California. And I just want to say that before coming to the US, like when I was in college around 10 years ago, I think, Michelle was one of the first US-based poets that I came across in a journal. And I really, really loved Michelle's work. And yeah, I'm super excited to see how far Michelle has made it. And I also wanted to say that I always include her poems in, I sometimes teach bilingual poetry workshops, and Michelle's poems are always part of my classes. So yeah, so please welcome Michelle to the stage.
Wow, what an honor. I hope I can live up to that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Poets House, for having me. Thank you to my fellow readers. Can you all hear me okay? Is this okay? Okay. All right. So I brought a visual aid as well. Aha, okay. So before I begin, so my latest book has, in addition to poems in it, my artwork as well. And I kind of pull from for the images from Familial Archive and also from the archive of the U.S. colonization of the Philippines. And so I'll start with the family archive first. So this is a picture of my Lola when she is 17. It's kind of like one of the only pictures we have of her because of poverty, because of typhoon, because of migration. And I will read this poem for her. She would be so pleased. She's traveling with me for my book tour and my book. Inside my Lola's handbag, a sandwich bag of chicken bones, a sandwich bag of tissues used, a palm-sized Santo Niño, Louis XIV Sun King, skyflake crumbs and dust in his plastic hair, Werther's original wrappers, a sandwich bag of sandwich bags. So one of the things that I thought about when creating collage around this image of my Lola was, really thinking a lot about the hardships of her life. She had 12 children. She was pregnant more times than that. And I think about all of who she might have been had she been able to say no to certain things and yes to other things. And so one of my favorites is this one. I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "I quit." Okay, so I also write a lot about and to and for my beloved dead. So this is a picture of my father. And in Filipino culture, and I think this applies to a lot of cultures I'm learning too, when you see a winged thing like a moth or a butterfly swirling around you, it is your past beloved saying hello or saying, what are you doing? Or whatever it is they want to say. Hanggang sa muli. We see our dead everywhere. A butterfly, a bat. Lola? Dad? Is that you? Just today I saw my father in the long finger of an okra, overgrown past peak deliciousness. It waggled at me. Naku, not even good for deep frying. And reminded, tingnan mo. Always look close at your garden, at your hands, at the layers of dust and corner cobwebs gathered in the spaces you pass each day. There. I am there. I am here. Always beside you. Always swirling around you, inside you, only one breath away. Yeah, you know that meme of, the anime character and he's like holding his hand out to the butterfly? There's the one, it always shows up in my feed where it's like this and then he's like, it says like Lola and then at the bottom it just says Filipinos. That was somewhat of the inspiration for that poem. Okay, so the other aspect of the archive that I engage with in the book, besides my own personal family archive, is the larger archive of Filipino history, particularly that of the U.S. colonization of the Philippines. And, in like sort of the technology of photography coincided with the time period of the U.S. colonization of the Philippines. And one of the technologies I was particularly interested in is the stereograph. So it's a picture that is put into a stereoscope, and then your eyes are part of the technology that create the sort of early 3D, bringing those two images together to create sort of a dimension. And so I created a poetic form that I call a stereograph poem. And I should also say, part of what I'm interested in too is the sort of difference between the images and the captions, and then also the condescension of the captions as well. So for example, this caption is stereograph after a typhoon, wherever the roof lands, there the Filipino makes his home. Right? Yeah, it's supposed to be shitty and shady, but actually, think about it. Is that not ingenious? Yeah. Let me show you what I keep doing that. The thing is over there. Okay, so the way that I read these is I read them differently every time because your eye moves differently every time. But I wanted to have you be able to look at it while I read it. Stereograph. After a typhoon, wherever the roof lands, there the Filipino makes his home. 1912. All they can see through their little boxes. Home, removed twice. Indio, Filipino, know-how. How to build many homes, not your own. How to ask for nothing. Double, double. Any fool knows a roof intact is no miracle, but a blessing of design. What do they know of God's eye? Blinks of mercy between rain of this land always provides kawayan bayanihan. These kano know nothing, nipa, kahoy, dahon. What we need about kabaybayan, nor any true need to recreate. We know you don't pour again and again and again and foundations in cement, but in the many arms come together to move a house, a choice. We know the importance of home removed twice. Indio, Filipino, know-how. How to build many homes not your own. How to ask for nothing. Bubong, silid, silong. A music in the common sense of our homes. We know this land always provides kawayan, nipa, kahoy, dahon. What we need to rebuild again and 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 again. Thank you. And just to show you the collage that goes with that, how I remixed that shady caption. Okay, so this next one, Stereograph, 24045, American soldiers feeding Filipino children. Pale men turn more and more red. Poor ripening, a prize of unknown consequence. Contests losing their ideals. They are better? They kill our parents, pen us like piglets, opportunities, little and probable brown graphs, low progress, mores doled, old bouts of power, born from ghost hands feeding, roved emptiness, empty promise, appetite for glory. Look there, humanitarian. They think we will not bite. How wrong. Brown mouths hungry will grow into scouts, great loud cogs, men and women whose contents will fatten, spatter so spouting lingua franca, gratitude, whitening, brightening as bettering as what's best. Ha! Free from weak blistered skin, we hold our truths. They know not one true thing of our ripening, a prize of unknown consequence. Their sport. Which child hungers most? Starving in open lack, perfect photographs. Low progress, mores doled, old feeding, roved emptiness, empty promise, empire's feed of benevolent assimilation. Primacy, a dumb lie under our powerful crossing. These stupid lines, dirt pens whose contents will fatten, spatter so pleasing, so salamat po. They don't know how well we know to grow candor in the dark. Downcast our eyes, bundok dugo, ngipin dilim, our fresh gums, our red teeth. Thank you. Okay, so that's the image that poem is based on. So I feel like the images sort of speak for themselves. Okay, but now for a completely different direction. So that's one sort of aspect of the family archive, the archive of war and colonization. And then the third section of the book is kind of about, wanting to become a parent and that probably not ever happening. So I guess content warning for infertility stuff. It's really, Okay. Spawn. Apply a question of love to a dying salmon, guided back to the place of its birth so its death may provide for new life. A very Catholic approach. Here in the forest, a smell of violets beneath the rain. A bird screeches as though it says, breach, breach, in my appearance, the sound more like a scraping than a call. I picture you miles away, transplanting new life into the ground as I seep for another month. No baby, no seed, no life in this blood. The last supper we ate together before I left, grilled salmon, its fat belly and crisp skin delicious, with smashed cucumbers and white rice sprinkled with furikake. You had just emptied your kiln, vessel after vessel, crock blue, well-formed and unbroken. The doctors have said it's not you, but haven't yet found what is wrong with me. Okay, let's see. I guess I'll give you the 2-poem warning. I'll just do 2 more. But which 2? Okay, here we go. Utang na loob. It is the last day of the year, and I am resolved to write you the poem I owe you. The one we said we'd write for the other the last time we met, well before the before times, in the town where they filmed Murder, She Wrote. We walked through succulent gardens, heath, heather, rhododendron, and dahlia, all prospering in July heat, to reach a room carved into the side of a cliff. Inside, a gray whale hip replica, a window overlooking an ocean crevasse, and a scrappy display of various lichen, a catalog of their names barely readable beneath cloudy glass. Poets, we began to read them aloud. Blistered navel, fire dot, giant shield, reindeer, witch's hair. Such delight in taxonomy. For years since, we've taken turns remembering. I still owe you that lichen poem. Doesn't that prompt feel so long ago? Finding delight, writing poems, lately as hard as the consensus of what we all owe one another. Last week, I hosted a second year of Christmas Zoom. My cousin's kid quarantined in a separate square, while my other cousin said everyone should just try to get it and spread it so that we can just all get back to normal. To which my cousin, whose son had been alone in the basement for 10 days, waved his 2 middle fingers at the camera and disappeared from the frame. And I laughed because of all the wine I drank to be on that call and said, Merry Christmas, everyone. Every day I think of Gaia and Jed, their Zoom memorials coordinated across time in Manila, Nashville, LA, and Honolulu. How my ates would be absolutely alive had they the medicine that half the people in this country refuse. How 6 million people across the world are dead. Still, I owe you a poem about lichens. They seem like single organisms, but really are 2. A fungus, an alga, layered and inseparable. Whether their relationship is mutualistic or parasitic, scientists disagree. Whatever side you're on, it's true that lichens absorb everything in their environment into their structure. You are where you are. The last time I saw you, I met your sons. We walked along the rocky shore that met the ocean and regarded with care all the life we saw there. Your sons naming mussel, limpet, anemone, starfish, barnacle, all crammed in their cold water, all waiting for the tide to come in. Okay, thank you. Okay, my last poem. So most of the collection I have like a lot of titles that are a Tagalog word and I don't translate because you have Google. And if you know, you know. And if you don't, you can learn or find out. It's very easy. But I did want to give context to this one. I'm just going to read a quote from a Filipina activist and author named Ninochka Rosca. about the word ingat. So in my family, the word ingat is very, it's like how everyone says goodbye. Like, you know, like take care, be careful, ingat, don't let anything happen to you because I love you so much and nothing bad can happen to you, okay? That's sort of the vibe of that word in my family. But I also think let me just read the quote. Okay. This is Ninochka Roska. Ingat was the last word uttered between and among those meeting to discuss what had to be done in ways big and small to end the Marcos dictatorship. It was said with all the love and respect one was capable of, because chances were one would meet again only in a prison cell or a torture house or at a wake. Ingat. Oh, and let's not end with that image. Well, maybe this one. Okay. Ingat. I want to give you a world where knives have no place, save for the mincing of ginger and garlic. A world where those roots, those bulbs, are talismans we eat in order for our blood to be strong. Today, I offer you the scream I gave to my pillow, the graying of my mother's hair, which she gave to me through my phone, the bread that my friend made and delivered, which smelled like her home. I offer you the blooming steam of my rice cooker, the bath I've drawn and littered with salt and kernels of lavender. May the warm water hold you the way a hug might if I could climb across time to give it to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. That was so moving and beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'm not ready for the evening to end. I'm a little bit sad, but yeah, we have made it to our final reader of the evening. Roque Raquel Salas Rivera is a Puerto Rican poet, educator, and translator of trans experience. The 2018-19 Poet Laureate of Philadelphia, he has received the Premio Nuevas Voces and the inaugural Ambrogio Prize, among other awards and recognitions. His 8 poetry books include Lo Terciario, The Tertiary, Noemi 2019, longlisted for the National Book Award and winner of the Lambda Literary Award, and While They Sleep Under the Bed is Another Country, Birds LLC 2019, which inspired the title of the exhibition No Existe un Mundo Post-Huracán, Puerto Rican Art in the Wake of Hurricane Maria. His poetry has been musicalized by Angélica Negron, Jonathan Woody, and Anaís Mejías. It is also important to say that Roque came all the way from Puerto Rico, and yeah, as you can already tell, I'm ecstatic about bilingual editions like Algarabía, his latest book of poetry, and I deeply admire the work of people who are thinking and resisting in 2 languages or more. So it is an honor to have you here, Roque. Aguante Puerto Rico, and yeah, please welcome Roque to the stage.
Gracias. Hi. First of all, what a wonderful reading, and I feel like I still haven't met the readers, and we got to hear each other, but we haven't actually shared. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Nick. Where's Nick? Where's Nick? Oh, thank you, Rob. I'm gonna just read because we're here for poetry, right? And I'll be mindful of time. Cenex describe su origen según Ovidio y me ruega a mí, su musa, que le abra paso desde el presente para que pueda fielmente narrar las siguientes aventuras. Según la eterna transformación Nací el día en que un dios me violó en su patio, una playa llena de turistas. Fui una cartera desatendida y el tropel invasor de sombrías con piña coladas. Tras el robo, Poseidón no fue brusco. Al quitarme el nombre Kainis, me ofreció una piel impenetrable, un cascarón endurecido por disculpas, y le contesté: el daño que me infligiste no tiene reparo, fructifico sus pesadillas de forma conectiva. Como compensación quiero ser reconstruido, parecerme menos a un objeto deseado para menos sufrir. Hazme hombre. Me queman las ansias de ser aguerrido y audaz capitán, peleando en la expansión febril de verborrea, ha sido la fila del bando leal. Mis palabras se lanzaron del rezo y al surgir la voz me fue irreconocible, su llamado varonil en la piscina vacía. Así llegué a ser Ceneo. Un hombre mejorado, un hombre improvisado, un soldado que peleó más duro, más rápido y con menos que los anteriores. Leí que esta era mi génesis, un logro de coerción sacrificial. Las deidades contaban con escribas y bardos que nos pasaban canciones cuyas letras eran nuestras únicas palabras y cuyas memorias me eran desconocidas. Pero no recordaba aquella transformación originaria detrás de los asentamientos. Solo vislumbraba una barra con mi nombre, solo Cenex, una guarnición erigida en un mapa militar. Los turistas sí llegaron y siguen comprando edificios para alquilarlos más allá de nuestro crédito limitado, pero no como lo cuenta Ovidio. Pues si un cuento es muy heroico, no es nuestro. La historia no carga nuestras hazañas que pesan como una maleta de estrellas. Morimos y amamos en el campo de batalla. Aunque acabe el combate, no regresaremos. No nos esperan las familias que nos olvidaron. Y si por alguna razón salimos vencedores, nuestra gloria marchará vestida de pena. Y caminaremos junto a los heridos como si también tuviéramos heridas. Incluso nuestra narración es una guerra. No será para nuestros enemigos que narramos un nombre, su insignificancia, una rosa de la cual un poeta dijo daba igual si le decíamos mamey o perejil o hasta moon, desconocides. Hoy es nueva mi canción, el canto de una ternura férrea contra nuestro exterminio. Que llegue a cada baby, que sobreviva a las purgas, la ciudadanía forzosa, la incorporación condicional, el vaqueo temporeno enaltecide como cara pasquín y luego arrancade cuando se quiebra el cauce. Oh musa, mi lengua pesa porque mi canto es torpe, pese a que canto un banquete de helechos. Alabado el cable preñado de changos, alabanza para la fila en Caprix, la cortatelas, las manos casquetas y los estudios de suelo, alabanza para las bocas que izan bichos tras el muro y para la sangre positiva, alabanza para el silencio y algarabía, que son los trabajadores que crean un país movedizo. Canto por las mañanas, vistiendo a mis 30, beso sus cachetes y preparo sus almuerzos. Ojo, en los trenes nos apegamos demasiado a los hombres que viven seguros de que siempre lo han sido, a punto de robar las caras imberbes y drenar dones de sus ahorros. Somos implacables, rotativos, desarmadores en el agua, sirenos en los cayos, convidándolos a morir y a que se unan a nuestras formas imposibles. Y en mi joven vejez celebro que viví. Ya elegí la esquina donde soltaré mis cosas cuando esta piel se canse de cambiar, el sofá con polilla o la pantalla inservible. Una trayectoria invertida. Doy comienzo con la muerte. Les cuento que nací muerto y morí en vida con mis amigues, sosteniéndonos en apartamentos de renta empinada, no mascotas y no gente local. En una sala sin podar, descongelada la siembra, en bandejas de comedor repartimos los frutos. Y durante mi marcha fúnebre, comí tanta crica, escuché tanta mierda, chupé tanto rombo y fumé tanta bruma, que me declaro lleno, aunque desmemoriado. De esos añicos bendecidos, reconstruyo un origen. Kainis da paso a Ceneo y finalmente a Cenex, con esta lengua que guías, oh musa, allende la historia oficial, para que yo les cuente cómo con fiebre cruzamos la transición para enterrar los huesos en carnes nuevas. Senex describes his origin according to Ovid and begs me, your muse, to open a path from the present so I can faithfully narrate the following adventures. According to the eternal transformation, I was born the day I was raped by a god in his backyard, a beach full of tourists. I was a purse unattended, and he was an invading horde of umbrellas and piña coladas. Following the theft, Poseidon wasn't rough. When taking my name, kindness, he offered me impenetrable skin, a shell hardened with apologies, to which I answered, the injury inflicted cannot be reset. I fructify its nightmares connectively as compensation. I wish to be remade, less like an object you might want, that I might suffer less. Make me a man. I burn with the desire to be a brave and audacious captain, fighting in Verbosity's feverish span, bound to the ranks of loyal troops. My words dove at the end of my prayer, and emerging, I didn't recognize my voice, calling out to the empty pool with manliness. I became Kaineus, a man improved, a man improvised, a soldier who fought harder, faster, and with less than any who came before. This was my genesis, I read, attained through coerced sacrifice. The gods had scribes and bards passing down songs whose lyrics became the only words we knew and whose memories weren't mine. But I recalled no originary transformation. Past the settlements, I could only glimpse a bar with my name, only Senex, a garrison erected on a military map. Tourists did arrive, buying buildings, renting them out beyond our credit limit, but not how Ovid tells it. For if a tale seems overly heroic, it isn't ours. History can't carry our 5-star feats because we love and die in battle. Even if the fighting ends, we can't return. The families that forgot us aren't waiting. And if for whatever reason we win, our glory will march wearing its sorrow and will wander among the wounded as if we ourselves were shot. Our telling is a war unto itself. For whom but our enemies do we narrate a name's insignificance? A rose, some poet said, could be mamey or perejil or even moon. Strangers, today I sing a new song, the canto of unwavering tenderness in the face of our extermination. May it reach every Sib, living through purges, being citizened, conditionally incorporated, temporarily backed, held up as a posterette, then torn down when the riverbed goes bust. O muse, my tongue weighs cluttered despite my singing a banquet of ferns. Praise be the wire pregnant with changos, praise be the line in the caprix and the cloth cutter, praise be the soil studies, the hands for hand jobs, the mouths that raise dicks near the seawall and the positive blood. Praise be the Algarabía silence, for these are the workers that build a shifting country. I sing, I dress my 30 for the day, kiss their cheeks and make them lunch. Danger, on trains we stand perilously near men who are sure they've always been. About to steal visages fallow and drain gentlemen of funds, we are implacable, rotative, disarming on water, sirens on quays, inviting them to die and join us in our impossible forms. And in my elder youth I celebrate having lived. Already I've picked the curb for shedding when the skin tires and finally settles, the moth-eaten couch and broken screen. A reverse trajectory, my epic begins with death. For I was born dead and died in life, with my friends, held together despite apartments with steep rent, no pets and no locals, living room unmowed, harvest defrosted, and crops served up on cafeteria trays. I gave, in my mortuary procession, so much head, sucked so many lozenges, listened to such shit, and smoked such a fog. I can claim to be full, even if my memory was shot. From those blessed shatterings, I reassemble an origin. Kindness gives way to Kaineus and finally to Senex. With this tongue that you, O muse, are guiding beyond official history, so I may tell how we crossed transitions, fevers, and buried our bones in new flesh. I'll just read a few more and then, it's because that's a long one. Okay. Esto es un mundo, this is the world, and no voy a contarles todo, pero quizás puedo decir que en la primera parte, ¿verdad? En los primeros capítulos, Senex no sabe quién es, vas conociendo quién es, tiene que pasar un laberinto que es un Walgreens donde va a conseguir algo en el medio, en la farmacia que necesita para poder transicionar. So there's an adventure. The first part, Senex is figuring out in the first cantos who he is. And in the center of this book there is a labyrinth, which is the Walgreens. Puerto Rico, there are more Walgreens per square foot than anywhere else in the world. And of course, he has to navigate the aisles of this Walgreens, each of which is its own world, in which people are trapped. People who haven't kind of got stuck on something and haven't been able to figure out their trans and are living in that Walgreens. And in the center, there's a pharmacy where Senex is going to get something he needs in order to be more himself, I guess, would be the term. But I'll just read something short from the first canto and then move further ahead, and then we can just end there. Un nuevo nombre. Interrumpí una clase a mitad, buscando un baño que me aceptara. Todas las alarmas del edificio se dispararon, aunque esta no era una salida de emergencia. Era un piromaníaco. Mi entrepierna era fuego. En mis hojas de evaluación aparecía Virginia. Un día me puse Senex y ya, sin más, con el tiempo de Virginia sobró un boceto. Todavía algunos ven la sombra, la cicatriz. Nos entrenaron para el asedio. El arsenal de Poseidón era una pila de perdigones y sospecha en ruleta. Meros conejillos, nos morimos uno tras otro, merojillos. Nos entrenaron y nos entrenaron. El mar escupió nuestros cuerpos esculpidos del coral y crecimos como uva de playa o el trombón ronco de un crucero. A new name. I opened a door on a class mid-session looking for a restroom that would have me. The building alarms went off, even if this was no emergency exit. I was a fire starter, my crotch fire. On my evaluation sheets, a name, Virginia. One day, I began wearing Senex just like that. With time, Virginia faded into an outline. Some say you can still see the shadow of a scar. They trained us to prepare for sieges. Poseidon's arsenal was a pile of pellets and suspicion and roulette. Mere guinea pigs, one by one, we died. Mere pigs, they trained and trained us. Spit out by the waves, our bodies, sculpted from coral, grew like sea grapes or the hoarse trombone of a cruise ship. Y ahora, I guess the other part of the context is that Algarabía is a colony of Earth in this parallel universe. And so Earth is the colonizer, and Algarabía is both a landmass, a planet, and a colony. Y nada, and sometime in the first canto, Senex ends up in a dream realm with Titia Ixa, which like only the Puerto Ricans here know who that is, but she's a television person on television, and like people send in their photos, grandma's photos and stuff, and they project this like wall of photos, and she wishes them happy birthday. So she'll be like, Tita Ixa le dice feliz cumpleaños, and it's someone's like random grandma like next to like this 5-year-old kid, and she's saying happy birthday to all of them. And Carl Sagan, who secretly wrote under a pseudonym, Mr. X, I think in Science Digest or something, an article about how amazing weed was and his first time smoking weed. And so in the dream realm, Senex smokes with Carl Sagan and Titia Ixa, but Carl Sagan is going to narrate the story of Algarabía. La historia de la gran tierra de Algarabía, narrada por Carl Sagan. No es Pepeslavia ni la República de los Cocos. Algarabía no es una tarjeta postal tropical. Más allá del área con servicio de este universo, tan lejos como las papitas terrestres del mayo ketchup, existe la vida. y en todo sitio que visito hay algarabianes cuyos gestos de mano tocan embrujados acordes. No pretendo presentar su historia o un análisis meteorológico somero, ofrezco estas notas rudimentarias. Algarabía es un planeta y una sola masa continental. Algarabía es una isla, se llaman así al unísono. A veces hablamos algarum, otras un dialecto de la tierra. Distribuimos los artefactos de deidades, recirculamos nuevas significaciones, vemos mucha televisión terrestre, tenemos sus tiendas importadas y ordenamos cosas de otras colonias con la supervisión de los terringos, las terringas, les terringues, pero nuestro alboroto es diferente. Hace siglos la tierra fue destruida y los terrícolas más crueles desde el poder repoblaron otras tierras con domos cerrados, réplicas mnemónicas de su primer planeta. Algarabía fue el último en vías de ciudad asentadora, gobernadas, invadidas y hostiles bajo el yugo de un desplazamiento incompleto. Brotaron carpas junto a los domos, sus gentes dormían de día y de noche, enceraban un vidrio antiobrero. Trabajamos para la tierra, por la tierra morimos, pero casi siempre entre nosotros nos peleamos. Les llamamos pendejos, terringues, les llamamos hijos de yuca y cabrones, les llamamos dioses a los terrestres, sacrificamos el arrebato ante sus altares, engrasamos las ruedas del matadero local y marchamos a triturarnos en hilera. And I'll finalize with a short one. The Mighty Land of Algarabía is narrated by Carl Sagan. It is not Pepeslavia or the Coconut Republic. Algarabía is not a tropical postcard. Beyond the serviceable area of this universe, as far as earth fries from my ketchup, there is life. And everywhere I've gone, I've found Algarabians, their hand gestures playing haunted accords. I do not pretend to summarize its history or present a cursory meteorological scan. These are rudimentary notes. Algarabía is a planet housing one landmass. Algarabía is an island. The name is the same. Sometimes we speak Algarum, other times a dialect of Earth. We distribute God's artifacts, recirculating new signification. We've seen many Earth shows. We too have exchange stores and order from other colonies with Earthblood's oversight. But our ruckus is different. Centuries ago, Earth ended. The cruelest earthlings in power repopulated colonies with gated domes, mnemonic replicas of their home planet. Algarabía was the last to be taken by the settlers. Ruled, invaded, and unfriendly in our subjugation, our displacement was incomplete. Outside the dome sprung tent cities where during the day people slept and at night waxed labor-proof glass. We worked for Earth we die, and often only fight each other. We call them motherfuckers, Earthbloods. We call them pendejos, hijos de yuca. We call them gods, the Earthmen. We sacrifice our drive on their altars, grease the wheels of the local abattoir, and march into its grinding single file. And this will be the last one. We okay on time? Is it, all right? Good. Okay. Uno cortito. Okay. No, ese es muy largo. Dale. Okay. Yeah, I'll just read this one. That's fine. This is now after the Walgreens. The next has what he needs, and he realizes he doesn't know how to inject it. And the pharmacist sends him to a place called Simorg. And in Simorg, others like him will teach him what he needs to do. So he's on his way. Un descansito. El parking del Walgreens era de horno urbe. Sufrí su pam pam como un buen sub, libre de decisiones, sentado en la acera. Las cruzacalles todos repetían su letanía de pim, pim, pim o walk, walk en un oleaje de llantén incontrolable tras la muerte de los pisahuevos, los comecolorados, los ligadores, los entrometidos, el morbo del accidente y su fanaticada. Estaban Jime que jode, llamaron y dejaron un mensaje de voz, walk, walk. Cantaron los pregoneros de agua y piragua. Si no tiene la carita, no es paico de verdad. El campanario pregrabado, un funeral atardecido, los ladridos, el karaoke, los nenes de la cancha, un coro en duelo. Las palomas comían las condolencias por una ciudad coartada y cada cenex volvió a su nido, a su bol, a enterrar alguna aspiración que alimentase a los gusanos o que abonara las semillas de la maraca, los cascabeles en las botas del progreso. A la derecha, un poquito más, un poquito más. Con un intercambio de prendas nacimos pronunciando exidiomas según el ritmo que planchaba el sol en los pararruedas de concreto que calentaron mi culo. Mi túnel del desagüe del tiempo al ritmo casual de mantenerme vivo sobre un suelo de lighters que no duraron y donde estaciones de cebo para roedores espejismeaban caravanas que imitaban las carpas en la cuales a distancia. Simurg, al acecho, un porvenir vestido de trapos, me esperaba para hechizarme, como cuando las rocas amputan un pueblo cerca de un rejuvenecer inestable y su historia es tragada por salitre y escombros. Así también la ciudad de carpas fue moriada por gases de escape de las barcazas comerciales y por una oleada de casuchas de hojalata. Carajo, Algarabía City, tus afueras eran praderas de desechos a las que nos mudamos para compartir el acampar y para ensayar la cercanía. Got it. Taking a minute. Walgreens parking lot was a metropolis oven. I suffered its pan like a good sub, sitting on the curb freed of decisions. Street banners repeated their litany of ping, 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 or walk, walk, and licks of uncontrollable criery, lamenting the demise of pisahuevos, come colorados, cat collars, meddlers, the morbidity of a car crash in its fan base. They were all moan and whine and left a voice message, walk, walk. The water bottle and popsicle crier sang, Si no tiene la carita, no es paico de verdad. The pre-recorded bell tower, sunset funeral, bakers, barkers, karaoke, and the boys on the court, a morning choir. Pigeons ate condolences for a thwarted city. Each next returned to his nest or his ball to bury aspirations, feed the larvae, or fertilize maraca seeds, sleigh bells on the boots of progress. A la derecha, un poquito más, un poquito más. Born with exchanged beads, we pronounce X languages to the rhythm that suns ironed on concrete wheel stops where I warmed my ass, where I warmed my little time drain to the casual beat of staying alive with tossed lighters and the last gnaw, where rodent bait stations miraged critter trailers mimicking the tent city in the famished distance. Simurg, my fortune awaited, cloaked as unassuming and beguiled my tired framework, as when a village is cut off by rocks near a faltering rejuvenation, its history washed away by saltpeter and debris, so too the scent city was bespeckled by exhaust from commercial barges and through a sheet metal surge. Carajo, Algarabía City, your outskirts were scrap pastures where we moved to share a camp. Free associating closeness. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Roque. Fue sumamente poderoso escucharte esta noche. And yeah, can we just please give another round of applause for our readers? Thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight. We're gonna close at 9, but feel free to browse the books, hang out, and we also have copies of all of the readers' books for sale at the lobby. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Buenas noches a todos.